Welcome to the PDA Parenting Podcast. This show will be dedicated to supporting parents raising kids with PDA autism. I'm your host, Amy Kotha, a parent coach and a mom to a PDAer myself. This podcast is here to provide you with practical insights, real-life experiences, and expert guidance to help you better understand your child and to parent from a place of connection, empathy, and understanding. Whether you're new to PDA or you're already familiar with the journey, you're in the right place. Hello, and welcome back to the podcast. This is part 2 of my conversation with Danielle Rada about learning, school shutdown, and alternative learning paths for PDA and neurodivergent kids. If you haven't listened to part 1 yet, you might want to start there. In that episode, we talk about why learning becomes unsafe for so many of our kids. We talk about the compliance-based roots of education, the mismatch between systems and nervous systems, and the way parents are often left carrying blame that doesn't belong to them. In this episode, we shift into something a little deeper. We're going to talk about what it actually looks like to rebuild safety around learning, how learning can emerge naturally once the pressure is removed, and why trusting your child as well as yourself is just so vitally important. This part of the conversation is slower, more reflective, and for many parents, deeply validating. So if you're ready, let's drop back in.
So we've got deschooling, and then you probably will have heard a term called unschooling.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Yeah,
So
tell us more about that.
Yeah, unschooling refers to, like, broadly it's categorized as a homeschooling philosophy. And just another note on language, because I'm a bit of a word nerd, I tend to, like, I know kind of the common vernacular is homeschooling refers to anything that's not in a traditional bricks and mortar situation.
Okay.
Again, I'm a word nerd, so I prefer the looser term home education, which helps for me mentally just pull apart even that implicit structure of schooling, that traditional structure, right? So I try and say home education, home learning, home whatever.
Well,
You know,
I think it when you also use the language in that way, it also takes away some of I don't know. I just feel like a lot of people hear the word unschool and think no learning, lazy parenting,
right.
giving up. They've given up.
Yeah, and you know, there's a spectrum of approaches that folks use, and many families will cover that gamut. There's approaches that are what we call, what the, folks in the community call school at home. You know,
Mm-hmm.
there's desks, there's posters on the wall, there's you know, the agenda and like sometimes even school bells, you
Oh
know,
my
like
gosh.
we school is recreated in the home environment.
Okay, yeah.
Um, Shockingly, uh, that often doesn't last long. Everybody, regardless of, you know, a neurodivergent
That
family
sounds
situation
hard.
or not,
That sounds hard for the parent.
usually ends up in burnout.
Yeah,
And then, oh, I didn't do it right, and blah, blah, blah. And
right.
so it was a lot of those folks that, that kind of informal coaching came across, my plate in those early days, right? Oh, it's not working. Imagine that, right?
Right.
The Because I mean, the home environment is supposed to be everything that is not that. So,
Right. They're just
anyways,
taking that model and
oh
just
yeah,
moving
it's
it.
it's just
Yeah.
it's that, top-down imposition, third party, like here's the
Right.
template, use it,
Yeah,
right?
we're still in the behaviorist compliance model, traditional parenting
Absolutely.
model as well.
And linear is learning is linear. Duck, duck,
Yeah.
duck, duck, duck. We're going to check off the things
Right.
as we go down the list, A to Z, 1 to 10, all the things, right?
Right.
And it's very systematic and often in situations like that, you find education is done to kids
Mm.
as opposed to with kids,
Wow. Beautiful. Makes so much sense.
right? And so slide down the philosophical spectrum with me to the other side, and we find ourselves with what's termed unschooling. So unschooling and within itself has is a broad category, but typically it refers to people who either reject or have found that it's not helpful, typically don't use formal curricula or prepared curriculum,
Okay.
at least in its entirety, kind of that 1 to 10 type style. They might use it more as kind of a buffet, pick and choose if they're choosing to use it. But many find this kind of return to the organic learner where
Okay.
with enough time, space, and recovery, a child will find interests bubbling up in them
Right.
and they will turn to the things that interest them. And as we know, neurodivergent folks have these deep, passionate areas of interest and often hyper focus.
Right.
So, guess what? We can learn deeply and thoroughly through the lens of strengths and interests. And
I
it's
love that.
messy. Like it's going to
Yeah.
look like a pile of spaghetti compared to the school at home folks or the bricks and mortar folks. Like it is
Right.
not a neat and tidy laid out curriculum. She's messy.
Yeah.
But guess what? Like, if you go back to those, as educators, go back to those classes you had in university where you developed your educational philosophy and you learned about, deep, authentic learning
Yeah.
that was like stored in the long term and like as adults we can still access it and pull it up and it's connected to our emotional experiences.
Yeah.
Guess what?
Yeah.
That's often what's happening. And unschooling doesn't mean, I think, probably a good, maybe even less controversial synonym would be more like non-traditional learning. You see in unschooling, folks who choose unschooling, is the role of the adult, whether it's an educator, whether it's a parent or it's a caregiver or whomever, um, the the adult is more like a coach
Okay.
from the sidelines,
Mm-hmm.
not from the sidelines, but alongside, as opposed to a top-down adult imposed structure. Not even structure, content.
Right.
Like the one of kind of our starting suppositions around education is that as adult, I need to transfer my knowledge to you.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what's been determined as the important stuff for you to learn,
Yes.
which is, you know, that is okay for a decent amount of the population. A decent amount of the population can tolerate it. I mean,
Right.
we churn the school system churns out people who are educated and do reasonably well with that. But there's
Right.
this portion of the population who don't.
Right.
And that's clearly our PDA kids.
Mm-hmm.
And when they can access and tune into their special interests and their hyper focuses, that creates that deep, gorgeous, yummy, authentic learning. And it doesn't
Yes.
look anything like you've ever heard of.
Even my college experience, and there's literally out of all of my years at Purdue, there's one class that stands out to me above all of the other ones. And I had amazing courses there, but it
Mhm.
was a poli sci class. I was not a poli sci major. I didn't know anything about poli sci. I took it because it
It was
was
one of the things you were told you needed to take.
somebody said it was an option. It didn't sound like maybe it was, a weed out class. I was going to take it. And the woman who taught it, like, she stood on the desks and she gestured and she was so authentic and talked about things that we cared about, like that we were interested in. And it was like something clicked in our brains, right? Like, oh my, like, is this education? Like, can we actually, what? It was really confusing and it was amazing. But think of giving your kids the ability to find those things even at a younger age and more consistently than one class in 4 years of undergrad,
Right.
right? Yeah.
So a lot of families find themselves okay, where we've experienced a lot of recovery. My kid is showing signs that they're interested in some learning. And I've got grandma or dad, or maybe even some support providers going, yeah, but what about? Aren't they ever going to?
Oh, that's huge.
And well, it's the what about questions, right?
Yeah,
And those are hard.
they are.
Those are hard because, of course, we want to make sure our kids are, ready for life as an adult.
Right.
But if I could say one thing, did you stop learning when you left high school or university? No, you didn't.
Definitely not.
You were not a complete static package, as you walked out of the doors of your high school or university,
Right. You just lost some pressure.
right? You lost some pressure and you probably, maybe if you, especially if you're really lucky, you got to go into areas that interested you. So maybe your work was an area of interest for you and passion.
Yeah.
Or maybe you went to work so you could discover that you really like doing art
Hmm.
and you could, you know, enjoy art as a hobby. As a mom, I learned how to do percentages in my head shopping for groceries with my kids.
Yeah.
I know I had been taught that a lot of years in a row. There was a lot of workbook exercises about how to you know, do that conversion of like what's 30% off of 19.99. In the
Yeah.
formal education context, my nervous system couldn't settle enough to find a real life application. And also, I didn't really have a big need at 13 to figure out what 30% off of 19.99 was. But guess what? I
Right.
figured out how to do it as I'm dragging my three kids through the grocery store.
Yeah.
And I got to decide what kind of apples I'm going to buy. What kind of crackers are going to fit in the
Yeah.
budget because now, like, we're not double income anymore. So part of my job was to like bring that budget down.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't learn how to do that kind of financial stuff better because the cashier quizzed me on the way out.
Yeah, no, that would not work well.
It worked for me because I had a need
Yes.
to learn it.
You had an invested interest.
I had an invested interest, and I didn't have someone breathing down my neck with a red pen.
Right. Right. And what if you made a mistake?
And what if I made a mistake? Guess what? I had a calculator in my pocket,
Yeah.
even back then.
Right.
And
Right.
I could access strategies that maybe weren't strategies that were taught in the classroom that
Right.
made sense for my spaghetti brain to put it all together.
Right.
Like if I couldn't figure out 40%, I'm like, okay, well, what's 50%? Oh, okay, well, so it's close to 50, but not quite.
Yeah,
Or
exactly.
I can figure out 10% easily and I can count by tens. You
Mm-hmm.
know, all these
Right.
strategies that the Mad Minute test didn't teach me
There was no clock ticking above your
and
head.
shut my learning
Determine this
down,
within the
right?
next 30 seconds or you're out.
Right?
You're out of the store and you lose your groceries.
Yeah. So all that to say is adults, we don't stop learning.
Right.
As young adults, we don't stop learning. As middle agers, we don't stop learning. So to expect and put the pressure on ourselves that, in a home education scenario, we have to make sure they have all the things,
Right.
especially, and then add that, that's a lot of pressure for your your typical home learning family.
Oh, yeah.
Now
Yeah.
that's an exorbitant amount of pressure for kids who've been in a massive recovery, burnout and recovery phase,
Right.
you know?
Right.
So, and it's not the catching up. This idea of like, yeah, well, aren't their peers going to be ahead of them? Well, what if they just need more time? What if it's not catching up? What if it's waiting till they're ready?
Exactly.
What if we build a foundation of learning how to learn? And maybe just making a decision if we've got kids with vulnerable nervous systems, we need to figure out what's the fluff and what's necessary. Just like when we as parents were learning how to reduce the demands on our kids, you know, sometimes
Right.
if the goal is to get out of the house, we reduce the demand of requiring daytime clothing and we just leave the house in PJs.
Sure.
So sometimes doing that kind of intentional carving of what's required in education. Like, here's the thing, I can learn all the social studies content, but guess what? I can leave school and still learn about social studies stuff. Like,
Yes, you can.
there's the content subject areas, which are valuable and important and are part of a robust and well rounded education. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
But there's no requirement that they need to be learned. All that stuff needs to be learned before 18.
Very true. And
In fact, a lot of it often makes more sense when children have reached that developmental phase where they can process other people's ideas and experiences a little more fluidly.
yeah.
And our neurodivergent kids with spiky cognitive profiles, might need a little extra time before that comes easily for them,
Yeah, there is nothing wrong with that.
right?
Absolutely not. And then it can be connected more interest based, right? Which works better
Mm-hmm.
for all of us, neurodivergent, whatever. We all learn better and more organically when we can connect it to an interest.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of that what if, like,
Yeah.
and that's your protection mode
It is.
as a
It's
parent.
understandable.
It's part of the process, and you got to live with it. You got to welcome it
Yeah.
and say, okay, it's not game over at 18.
Right.
We haven't ruined them if XYZ,
Right.
because we know that we don't stop learning. And our best learning happens when we have a need, an internal motivation.
And when we're not in survival mode
Yep.
and our prefrontal cortexes are functioning and we can learn, when it's so hard that it's impossible, there's a reason for that.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, here's just like a brief example of what we're talking about here. So, as a primary school teacher, like most literacy and education in North America starts even in the preschool years. Like, kids are still learning how to talk and they're being taught letters because we have this idea that to have strong literacy skills, we have to start early.
True.
If you look at Scandinavia, the Scandinavian countries like Sweden, Denmark, Norway, those kind of places, they don't start formal literacy till much closer to around a grade three age, grade two, three.
Really?
Yeah. And this is so common. Kids who wait to start reading until their brains are ready learn how to read so much more efficiently and they like reading.
Makes
Because
sense.
if you're doing things that you're developmentally not ready for over and over and over again, and you fail at it over and over and over again,
Yes.
when those skills finally integrate and solidify and you can read with reasonable fluency, you hate reading.
Exactly. Yeah. Great. What have we taught? Oh, that
right?
hurts.
So
Yeah.
when we can pull out of the pressure cooker of this needs to be done at this age, and we realize that we have kids with different profiles.
Right.
Things are, we know toileting happened on a different timeline
Mm-hmm.
than most of their peers. Like all of these skills and developmental markers happen at different times. And guess what? In kind of the academic piece, it's going to be the same thing,
Yeah, it makes complete sense. So much
right?
sense.
So why not channel that that not literacy, that efficiency,
Mm-hmm.
and hold off, wait for that interest, wait for that need to
Right.
spark some of those
Right.
things.
Okay, let's say that a parent has a child and they're going through the healing process, right? Because first we
Mhm.
want to do the healing and not rush through that, and then it's more of a child-led collaborative process, right? Child-led more, I would say.
Mhm.
And then how do the parents know? Like, how do the parents know where to push, right? Because what we're doing, right, we're
Right.
scaffolding the kids
Mhm.
and we're giving them what we need. We're meeting them where they're at and we're trying not to push them. We just want, but we also don't want to completely step out of the picture, right? We want
Yeah.
to push them in whatever way that we can to keep the growth happening or to start growth when they're ready, when they've hit a point
Mhm.
in their healing. What do you think that parents usually see from their kids? What do you look for in your child to understand that maybe it's time that you can start doing a little bit of pushing or introducing something? Or what
Right.
would you say to that?
And this is a point that is kind of the easy answer as well. There's no clear answer because it's different for every kid and every family.
Yeah, right.
Okay? Like obviously we know that. But
Yeah,
you will see some readiness. You will see a kid who maybe had to spend the majority of their day on their iPad. Now coming out of the room and being able to engage in some, you know, maybe some physical affection or even like light conversation with their caregivers, right?
right.
I mean, these are just like the beginning sparks,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
But basically, we're seeing an interest and an interest in kind of the outside world.
Okay.
Okay. Now, I'm going to say first thing, especially as a fixer and someone who wants to see some things happen, because guess what? My nervous system feels more settled when I see progress. Um,
Right. Very normal.
your your impulse might be a lot like mine. Oh, I see a spark. Let's go.
Yes.
And I'm going to
Yes.
say, if you have the capacity to listen to the words I have, the been there, done that, you're going to want to jump. And I'm going to say, tie your feet together,
Yeah.
stand still, tie your feet together, and then do it again and again. Just like in that recovery process, in the um, reignition process, we're going to back up.
Yeah.
Do
Yeah.
less, do less, even less, 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 less. Okay? Because we are giving cues of felt safety to our kids when we don't take this over.
Exactly. This is where the consistency piece comes in.
Yes.
And
Now,
it's
this
hard.
is right. And this is where you as a parent, okay, let's move the needle down the recovery and the reignition point. Like we're functioning reasonably well. Yes, we still have to, use low demand parenting strategies. Yes, we need to, make sure there's lots of sensory support in place, all the things. But we have like a reasonably predictable kid, at,
Right.
at least through a PDA lens, right?
Right.
We're feeling, we've settled our nervous systems, we've been through recovery, and our kid is starting to self advocate.
Mm-hmm.
Mom, I need this. Or Dad, I'd like to try that. Here's the thing, We can wait for that, and there's nothing wrong with it. Some of us might need to take a little bit of a, okay, I'm not going to drive this bus, but I'd like to be on the bus with you. Could we co explore some things that maybe weren't 100%, something that you as a kiddo would have gravitated towards? But can
Right.
I share my interest with you?
I like that. I like that.
And I'm going to suggest that you look for these powerful parallel play experiences with your kid, like we've learned to do, how to build connection
Right.
with our kids. You come jump alongside them and grab another iPad and get in the Minecraft world with them.
Yeah.
Before you even think about doing anything that even resembles education together, you're going to have a well established parallel play with your kid.
Right.
Okay. And then we're just going to like little tiny shifts if that feels good to you. Okay. And I, that was something I felt I needed. Like the randomness and stuff made it really hard of our unschooling, made it really hard for myself, but also for my kids whose executive functioning was kind of wah wah.
Yeah.
So,
So common in our PDA kids.
right. That was one of the pieces that I really struggled with. I really learned to lean into the process of things and feel more comfortable without necessarily having product.
Okay.
But there's a little bit of me, partly probably the educator, just kind of doing this mental checklist going, okay, I'd like to see just maybe one or two little things that look a little bit like a finished product,
Right. Right.
right? So, and my kids with their learning disabilities and dysgraphia weren't the kind of kids who are going to say, "Hey, mom," they just weren't the kind of the language lovers that were just gonna start writing a story like
Right.
the languagey kids. So that's something I felt like I needed to intervene with a little bit, provide a little bit more adult facilitation there than my kids would have naturally oriented to.
Okay.
Okay. So I could have gone out and bought the curriculum and said, okay, here's what we're doing 5 days a week for 2 hours.
Right.
Probably did try that a couple times and was reminded very quickly
Yeah.
that even without having been through a big recovery burnout situation, that was not going to be the fix. Like we eventually coined the term that our family was allergic to curriculum. Because guess what? Even if it's not a teacher telling you what to do, it's a box or a binder telling you what to do. And
Sure.
that feels hard and scary
It
and
does. Yeah.
triggering and all the things.
It
So
does.
I, and again, thanks to my special interest and deep diving skills, I would find these little ways to encourage routine that built in
Okay.
felt safety.
Okay.
So the felt safety pieces were around a bit of predictability and flexibility.
Right.
So I leaned into the idea of routine and rhythm rather than schedule. Schedule
Okay.
to me says 9 o'clock Monday morning.
Right. Right.
Routine says first this, then maybe that, and
Yes.
then we'll finish up or whatever,
Yep.
right?
We do
And
that as well. Yeah.
yeah, and even the rhythm of um, just these cozy rhythms around reading together, playing together, building that connection
Right.
and felt safety, and then noticing that there's a window of tolerance
Yeah.
for, okay, together we're going to do 5 minutes of your non preferred thing. Okay. And so with my kids, I was always straight up honest like, hey guys, these are skills that we need to work on that aren't coming quite as organically. I want to work with you to make sure that we find a strategy that feels good.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to stay close. You're not asked to do a hard thing all by yourself. So I'm going to
Right.
lend you my energy and my all the things that I can share with you. And I'm going to respect your capacity. So if you come and you already know like, hey, what do you got in you today? It's like, hey, Mom, I've only got 2 minutes, or like one line, for the writing
Right.
thing. Okay, let's do one line and we'll
Yes.
stop. So that
Yes.
that that cue of being able to trust me to not push them to say, "Oh, you did one line, you met your capacity. Can you go further?"
Right. This is, let's
We
pause. This
we
is
don't go
huge.
yes, we don't go further when we've met our capacity. We go
Right.
further when we've got full health. Think of those little Minecraft heart health life things. We
Yep.
don't push when we've got half a heart. We don't expand with
Right.
half heart when we've met the limits of our capacity. We expand when we're at full health.
Yep. Yeah. It'll come back. It takes time.
Yeah. And so that's where it's like it feels like okay, that's what the kind of the traditional advice is. You got to push them to go more, go more, go further. Okay.
Right.
Well, yeah, but dial that back 1,000% because we
Yes.
know that even the word push in PDA, that's not compatible.
No, no,
No.
no.
Can we encourage? Can we walk alongside? Can we expand? Yes. But anything that feels like a push is, we got to
Right.
be super sensitive to that. And it was always around the feedback of, hey, what's working for you, what's not working for you.
Yes.
And
Yes.
I recognize I have a certain privilege in having that education background, that background and understanding of pedagogy and how it all kind of puts together. That not all parents do.
No.
But here's the thing, we've got an internet full of, if not information, accounts and stories. And then there's people like you and
Yeah.
I who have certain lived
Exactly.
experience, who have certain backgrounds, who can offer support and advice.
Yeah.
And
And
and that's kind of like
yeah.
what we can dig into in that bonus session after your course.
Yeah.
Is like, yeah, let's pick some of this apart. What can this look like? You know?
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, because I understand. I know in my own experience, I have come up against this time and time and time. Literally had an IEP meeting at my younger daughter's school yesterday. Came up against it again. It's going to happen because a lot of people don't understand, and especially if you're dealing with a child who has PDA and even not. It's it's part of our society to want everyone to produce and to move quickly. And even when they see a child who has neurodivergency or needs more time, then like you said, it's at that first spark. It's the parents that I hear coming to me and saying, okay, it's my child's IEP states now that they can come to school when they're ready, and my child was ready to go today for an hour. So tomorrow they want him to come for 2 hours, and then next week they want him to come for 4 hours, and then the week after be back on full time. I mean, I understand the parents. This is exactly what they're coming up against. This is what people are saying. And if it's not staff at school, it's people in their family, like you had mentioned earlier, right? It's maybe the partner who doesn't fully understand, or it's the in laws who are saying, oh my gosh, go, 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 right? And, you
Or
know,
quizzing the kids in the back bedroom
ooh,
on XYZ. That's a favorite topic. Mm.
right? Yeah, and it's all these things, and I think that's someplace too where it's really fantastic to have a coach or a therapist or whatever, a community, people who can help you from another perspective to help you understand what is happening because we are so immersed in this. We've been brought up with this. We're immersed in it on a daily basis, and it's very hard to be the parent and understand sometimes how much time this can take and what it means when we see these sparks in our kids and what you're talking about. And I think that's one of the great things when you have that session in January, is it's so helpful to hear examples and to talk about what's really happening in my family and give me permission, even like give me permission to wait a little longer because everyone else in my life is coming at me. And
Mhm.
and you can go ahead and follow what they do, right? And then it's going to fall apart again. And now you have to start the whole thing over again because now
Yeah,
you have broken trust. And especially with our PDA kids, you break trust, you have to earn trust, and it's harder this
yeah,
time.
it is. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. And, like, forgive me for kind of going off on a bit of a philosophical bent. That's how my brain works. But
please.
if we look at it, like, our society is constructed, again, like I referred to that kind of social agreement, that we have systems in place because it's what's best for the broad population. And, you know, as as a white woman, I have largely benefited from those systems put
Hmm.
in place. And I think that can be tricky to realize is hold the both and. There's
Right.
systems put into place for general well being, but sometimes they harm.
Exactly.
Sometimes they're not the author or the root of well being.
Exactly.
Sometimes there's a different way. And I think sometimes we lose connection with these basic kind of core elements of the human existence. We, as human beings, with the brains we have, we are geared and wired to learn.
Right.
It's literally a driving force of our survival.
It is.
And we have somewhere along the way acquired this idea. And I think a lot of it is through this compliance model that if you choose not to, or if your behavior doesn't fit, you are choosing that behavior intentionally and you are trying to get out of it. What if we frame it around trusting a kid, trusting what they're trying to express, whether it's behavior, whether it's language and words, whether it's, their where their interests take them. What if we trust the kid in front of us before we trust the expert or the system or the curriculum? Like, do you see the connection between external and internal?
Absolutely. And it makes me think too, like we talk about connection, it's a biological imperative. It is part of us from the moment that we are born until the moment we leave this earth. We are driven for connection. And when
Mm-hmm.
people outside of us externally use that to manipulate us, because
Coerce us?
they know that, and pushing back against, like, feeling like maybe you are going to push back against is going to mean that you lose connection is scary.
Mm-hmm.
It's so scary.
Yeah.
And sometimes, but sometimes we have to do it. But as parents, like keeping that connection with our children and understanding that though they are pushing back in their way with these behaviors, it's because they are being pushed against in a way that is hurting them because
Yeah.
it's hitting their survival instincts for their
Yeah.
body, their physiological survival.
Yeah.
They don't do it to manipulate or to be lazy or to have a behavior. This is survival for them. And it's something I think as parents we have to just keep reminding ourselves of. They want to connect with us, even though sometimes that connection it's a little hairy, doesn't their
Yep.
means for trying to get connection
Right.
aren't
The
working well
Wi-Fi
for us.
signal's a little weak sometimes.
Yeah, yeah, it's a little painful for all of us. But if we just keep thinking along those lines, and it works,
It does.
it works. I mean, I made all the mistakes. I made all the mistakes. I'm still making mistakes, but I made all the mistakes. But when I figured out that connection piece and worked on the connection, that's when like everything changed. I know that sounds kind of like woo, right? Woo. But it's not. I mean, and then you start learning about relational neuroscience and you start learning about connection and attachment and how we physiologically work as human beings,
Mhm.
and it starts to make sense.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's a whole 12-week topic.
Right? It's a whole 12-week topic. And guess what? There's a course for that. But
But
you
it
know,
is.
you said a couple things that were really, that really sparked my a couple thoughts. That whether it's like we're concerned about laziness or manipulation or refusal, guess what? Like our common guru Robin Goebel talks about no behavior is maladaptive. All behavior makes sense.
Exactly.
It's telling us something. Behavior is communication.
Exactly.
And like we as parents need to learn to take off the social goggles or the school goggles and read the kid and realize that their motivation, like you said, is connection based.
Exactly. Exactly.
They're just trying to feel connected, safe, and that they belong.
Yeah. And so are we. And
100%.
yeah, yeah, and there's no bad kid. There is no bad child.
No,
There's not. And every child, yeah, there's a reason, and it's always safety and connection based. Always.
100%.
Yeah. And once you learn that and you start looking through a different lens, it is extremely life changing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It absolutely is. That, and I want to also say some things out loud. Home education is not necessarily going to be a cakewalk.
Right.
There's going to be, you know, it's not it's not the easy way out is what I'm trying to say.
Right.
It's an intentional decision that a lot of us are kind of forced into,
Yeah.
and that doesn't feel good, you
Right.
know? And there's there's can be a lot of nervous systems to support and manage in the home, obviously. Add in
Right.
that layer of home education, and it the changes the temperature, and that can be hard. And sometimes you just have to kind of like, so I want to say, like, I see you, I hear you out there. If you're like, I don't have any other choice but to do this, but I still don't know how I'm going to pay my bills because I
Right.
used to work full time. And how am I supposed to work full time and have my kid at home? Like, I need them to go to school. And 100% hear that and see that. And, having to figure out major life, you know, stuff outside of your kid and their well being, it's a slog, man. It's a
Yeah.
slog.
Yeah. When you have a child who, I mean, in any way, physical or mental health, has any kind of disability or special need, here you are.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
hard. And when those things happen, you need resources.
Mm-hmm.
You need
Yeah.
resources. You need to talk to other people who've been through it
Yeah.
and get some help in finding
Yeah.
your way through it
Yeah.
because there's a lot of parenting decisions, I think, for parents who are in our place or where we used to be 10 years ago, and it feels impossible. I was there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh my
It
God, I was
does.
there. And I know you were too. And
Absolutely.
I think we're proof like you can make it through. We didn't do it on our own. And for both of us, that's why we're here. We
Mm-hmm.
want to help, whether it's with working with us, listening to us on the podcast, finding your own support groups, or, your
Yeah.
community. It is unbelievably important.
It is. It is.
Yeah.
And it is putting that support in place for yourself is like right up there in importance as in the decisions that you make for and with your kid. Like
Yeah,
it's literally it's the proverbial, air mask on the airplane. Put your
it
mask
is.
on. Put your mask on first. And
It
um
is.
yeah, yeah,
It is. And we're here to help you through it. As
absolutely.
impossible as it feels some days.
You're not alone, and
Yeah,
you know, we the path is rocky, but
it is.
we can definitely do hard things together, as they say.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's a beautiful place to finish our conversation together, Danielle. Good Lord, I could talk to you for hours and hours, and we will again. That bonus session that you have with us in that 12-week Raising Kids with Big Baffling Behaviors course is going to be amazing. I can't wait to bring in other people with their questions and, talk even, get even deeper into it because it's so important. It is so, so
Absolutely.
important
Yeah,
for the parents and for their amazing children.
absolutely.
And
Looking forward to it.
yeah, I'm so happy. For those of you listening, you have heard today how layered this journey is. The shutdowns, the healing, the little tiny green sprouts of learning that come back. Danielle and I will again continue this conversation inside the 12-week course, Raising Kids with Big Baffling Behaviors, which was created by our mentor, Robin Goebel, whom most of you have probably heard of. She is just amazing, and we've learned so much over the past year studying with her. And Danielle will also be joining me, I think, on a few of the weekly live discussion and coaching sessions as well. And I'm sure that will be amazing. So, if you would like support applying this to your child or yourself, you are welcome to join us. In the show notes below, I've put a link where you can go to and find out more details and register. And please remember that this is going to be a very small cohort that starts in January to ensure individual attention and support. So we're kicking the program off on January 12th. So make sure if you're interested, you sign up quickly so you don't miss out. Danielle, thank you again for this conversation and for helping parents see that there is a way forward. It's
Yeah,
rooted in trust, it's rooted in connection and honoring who our kids are, where they are at
absolutely.
this moment. And I'm so grateful for your knowledge and your wisdom and your friendship and the continued
Oh,
hours that we will spend in between on our talks.
absolutely. It's been an honor and a privilege, and I thank you for yeah, I thank you for the invitation. It's been lovely.
And to our listeners, thank you so much for showing up today for yourself and for your child. And I will see you again on the next episode. Take care.